They threw lemonade at the waitress because she was too slow, filmed her humiliation, and walked out laughing. She stood there trembling but didn't break, just finished her shift with quiet dignity. What they didn't know, the woman they mocked for fun was married to the Mafia boss who owned the restaurant. And he hadn't built his empire by forgiving disrespect. The crystal pitcher shattered against Rosa Martinez's shoulder, sending a cascade of ice-cold lemonade down her crisp white uniform. The entire dining room of Moretti's fell silent. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stood there, trembling hands still clutching her notepad, while sticky liquid pooled at her feet and soaked through to her skin. Oops, the word dripped with mockery from the man in the $5,000 suit. His companion erupted into laughter, slapping the table so hard the silverware jumped. Rosa had been a waitress at Moretti's for 3 years. She'd served politicians, celebrities, and some of the wealthiest people in Manhattan. She knew how to handle difficult customers. But these two, these drunk, entitled tech brothers in their designer clothes, had been testing her patience all night. It started small, snapping fingers instead of making eye contact, sending back perfectly cooked steaks twice because they didn't look expensive enough, dropping silverware repeatedly, making her bend down to pick it up while they snickered. But this was different. You know what your problem is? The pitcher thrower leaned back in his chair, gesturing with his whiskey glass. His name was Derek Chun, though Rosa didn't know that yet. You're too slow. We're important people. We don't have time for, he waved dismissively. Whatever this is. His business partner, Marcus Webb, pulled out his phone. Smile for the camera, sweetheart. You're about to be famous. Rosa's face burned. Not from anger, from humiliation. Every eye in the restaurant was on her. The other diners looked away uncomfortably. Her fellow waitstaff stood frozen, unsure whether to help or stay invisible. Gentlemen, her voice came out steady despite the tears threatening to break free. I apologize if our service hasn't met your expectations. Let me get you. Let me get you, Derek mimicked in a high-pitched voice. More laughter. Marcus was definitely recording now, his phone pointed straight at her dripping uniform. From the corner booth, a regular customer named Patricia Hayes watched the scene unfold. She was a retired schoolteacher who came to Moretti's every Friday for the lasagna. She'd seen Rosa serve tables with grace and warmth for years. This wasn't right. Patricia's hand moved to her own phone. If these jerks were going to record this poor woman's humiliation, then everyone should see what kind of people they really were. Rosa bent down to pick up the broken glass, her hands shaking now. A piece cut her thumb. Blood mixed with lemonade on the hardwood floor. Oh no, now she's bleeding, Marcus announced dramatically. Should we call an ambulance? Or just tip extra? They dissolved into laughter again. That's when Rosa made eye contact with Marco, the head chef, who'd emerged from the kitchen at the sound of breaking glass. His face was dark with fury. She gave him the smallest shake of her head. Don't. It's not worth it. She finished clearing the glass, excused herself with quiet dignity, and walked, didn't run, to the back. Only when the kitchen doors swung shut behind her did she let the tears fall. Rosa, Marco grabbed her shoulders. Those pieces of garbage. I'm calling Alessandro right now. No. Rosa's voice came out sharp. Don't. Please. It's fine. Fine? Fine? They threw a pitcher at you. I need this job, Marco. If we make a scene, if we call the owner every time a customer is rude, she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. They're drunk idiots. They'll pay their bill and leave. I just need 5 minutes. But Marco was already texting someone. Rosa was too shaken to notice. Back in the dining room, Derek and Marcus were calling for their check. Still chuckling about the slow waitress, they left a 50-cent tip on a $400 bill and walked out into the Manhattan night, already forgetting what they'd done. Patricia Hayes didn't forget. She'd captured everything. The pitcher throw, Rosa's trembling hands, the blood, the mocking laughter. She watched the video twice, her jaw tight with anger, then opened Twitter. Rich jerks humiliate waitress at Moretti's in Manhattan. This is what cruelty looks like. She hit post. Then she sent it to her daughter, who worked in digital media. Make this go viral, she wrote. By the time Rosa had cleaned herself up, changed into a spare uniform, and finished her shift with 4 smiles, Patricia's video had 3,000 views. By midnight, when Rosa finally got home to her apartment in Queens, it had 50,000. By 3 a.m., it had 500,000. Rosa didn't know. She'd turned off her phone after the incident, too embarrassed to face the concerned texts from her sister. She just wanted to shower, sleep, and forget this nightmare ever happened. What she didn't know, what nobody in that restaurant knew except Marco, was that Moretti's wasn't just named after the owner. Alessandro Moretti didn't just own the restaurant. And Rosa Martinez wasn't just a waitress. She was Rosa Moretti, his wife. They'd kept it secret for safety reasons. His world and hers operated in very different circles. She'd insisted on keeping her maiden name at work, on maintaining her independence, on being treated like everyone else. Now, while Rosa slept fitfully in their bedroom, Alessandro Moretti sat in his downtown office watching the viral video for the 7th time. His face was granite. His jaw muscles twitched, the only sign of the volcano building inside. His phone buzzed. A text from Marco. She didn't want me to call you, but you needed to know. Alessandro set down his phone and opened his laptop. By dawn, he would know everything about Derek Chun and Marcus Webb. Where they lived, where they worked, every business they owned, every debt they owed, every weakness in their carefully constructed lives. They'd humiliated his wife for entertainment. Now he would teach them the most expensive lesson they'd ever learn. The only question was, how completely should he destroy them? Rosa woke to sunlight streaming through the curtains and the smell of coffee. For a blissful 3 seconds, she'd forgotten about last night. Then it all came rushing back, the lemonade, the laughter, the broken glass. She groaned and reached for her phone on the nightstand. 47 missed calls. 63 text messages. Her stomach dropped. The first message was from her sister. OMG, Rose, are you okay? You're all over Twitter. Her hands started shaking again as she scrolled through the others. Friends. Former co-workers. People she hadn't spoken to in years. All sending variations of the same thing. Links, concern, outrage. She opened Twitter. The video had 3 million views. No, her voice cracked. This couldn't be happening. She was a private person. She didn't want to be viral waitress girl or the face of workplace humiliation. You're awake, Alessandro's voice was soft from the doorway. He stood there in his tailored charcoal suit, holding 2 coffee cups, looking like he'd already been up for hours. Which he had. Alessandro, have you seen? I've seen it. He crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed, handing her the coffee. Drink. You need it. She took a sip, but the coffee tasted like ash. Everyone knows. The whole world has seen me standing there like an idiot while they... Her voice broke. You stood there with dignity. His tone was flat. Too flat. Rosa had been married to Alessandro Moretti for 2 years. She knew that tone. It was the one he used right before something very bad happened to someone who'd crossed him. What are you going to do? She asked quietly. Have breakfast with my wife, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Come on. You need to eat. 10 minutes later, Rosa sat at their dining table in her robe, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate while Alessandro read something on his tablet. His breakfast sat untouched. You're not eating either, she pointed out. I'm reading. He turned the tablet toward her. It was a detailed profile. Derek Chin, 34, co-founder and CEO of Bytebolt Technologies. Stanford graduate. Net worth estimated at $47 million. Engaged to a fashion influencer. Drives a Tesla Model X. Owns a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights. How did you get all this? Rosa stared at the screen. Vincent sent it over an hour ago. Alessandro scrolled to the next page. This is his partner. Marcus Webb. Also 34. Stanford roommates. They built Bytebolt together. It's a logistics tech company. They optimized delivery routes for restaurants and retailers. Very successful. They just closed a Series B funding round for 80 million each. Rosa set down her fork. Alessandro. They have 3 major investors, 17 employees, and contracts with 43 businesses across New York. He continued scrolling, his voice clinical. Their technology relies on partnerships with trucking companies, hardware suppliers, and warehouse facilities. It's an elegant system. Very interconnected. Very vulnerable. Alessandro, please look at me. He set down the tablet. His dark eyes met hers, and for the first time since she'd known him, she saw something that frightened her. Not anger. Not rage. Something colder. Something calculating. They humiliated you in front of a room full of people, he said quietly. Then they made sure millions more could watch. They treated you like garbage for their entertainment. And now I'm supposed to what? Let it go? Forget it happened. I just want it to go away. I don't want revenge. I want my life back. Your life. He pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. Headlines from 3 different news sites. Tech brothers attack waitress. Video shows restaurant abuse. ByteBolt founders face backlash after viral incident. They're already being exposed, Rosa said. See? The internet is handling it. The internet will forget by Monday. Alessandro's jaw tightened. I won't. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Vincent's here. I need to take this meeting. Meeting? Alessandro. It's Saturday morning. Business doesn't stop because it's the weekend. He stood, kissing the top of her head. Stay home today. Don't go to work. Don't answer any reporters. I'll handle everything. That's what I'm afraid of, she whispered, but he was already walking toward his home office. Vincent Calabrese had been Alessandro's consigliere for 15 years. He was a thin man in his 50s with silver hair and the kind of face that revealed nothing. When Rosa first met him, she'd thought he was an accountant. She wasn't entirely wrong, he just dealt with different kinds of numbers. Alessandro closed the office door behind them. Vincent was already setting up his laptop on the desk. Talk to me, Alessandro said. ByteBolt Technologies. Vincent pulled up a flowchart on his screen. They've built an impressive company, but they're stretched thin. The Series B funding they just got? Most of it went to expansion, new markets, new hires, upgraded software. Their burn rate is high. Weaknesses. 3 major ones. Vincent highlighted sections of the chart. First, their entire operation depends on partnerships. They don't own trucks or warehouses, they coordinate them. Second, their main competitive advantage is speed. Any delays in their system, and clients jump to competitors. Third, their investors are impatient. Tech money always is. First sign of trouble, the vulture's circle. Alessandro leaned forward. What happens if their partnerships start falling apart? Their whole system collapses. No partnerships, no service. No service, no revenue. No revenue. Vincent spread his hands. You can imagine the rest. How hard would it be to acquire their partners? Some of them? Easy. Most are small operations, always looking for better deals. The bigger ones would take more finesse. And money. Vincent studied Alessandro's face. How far do you want to take this? Alessandro thought of Rosa's trembling hands. The blood mixing with lemonade. The laughter. All the way, he said quietly. I want to know everyone they do business with. Every supplier, every contractor, every warehouse they rent space in. I want to know their investors, their lawyers, their biggest clients. Everything. That's going to take time. You have 48 hours. Vincent didn't blink. Understood. And when I've mapped their entire network? Alessandro's smile was ice cold. Then we start buying. Quietly. Through shells, through intermediaries, through companies they've never heard of. We're going to build a cage around ByteBolt Technologies. And they won't even know they're trapped until the door closes. Vincent nodded and began typing. One more thing. The video is still spreading. Some outlets are trying to identify the restaurant. If they connect it to you, let them try. Alessandro's voice was steel. By the time anyone figures out Rosa is my wife, Chun and Webb will have much bigger problems to worry about. Rosa made the mistake of checking her phone again at noon. Her Instagram had exploded overnight. Thousands of new followers, hundreds of comments from strangers. Some were supportive. Many were not. She probably deserved it. Slow service is unacceptable. Why didn't she fight back? So pathetic. This is staged. Nobody just stands there like that. I found her Facebook. She lives in Queens. Someone should teach her what real humiliation feels like. That last one made her blood run cold. She immediately switched all her accounts to private, but the damage was done. Screenshots of her personal photos were already circulating. Someone had found her wedding announcement from 2 years ago, though thankfully it only listed her as Rosa Martinez, with no mention of Alessandro's last name or business connections. By 2 p.m., the first reporter showed up outside their apartment building. Rosa watched from the window as a young woman with a camera crew positioned herself on the sidewalk. Then another arrived. Then a van with a satellite dish. "They found me," her voice was barely a whisper. "Alessandro, they found where we live." He appeared behind her, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, building security now." He hung up. "Tony's handling it. They can't get past the lobby. But they're out there, waiting. What am I supposed to do? Become a prisoner in my own home? You're safe here. That's what matters. Safe." She spun to face him. "Alessandro, look at this." She thrust her phone at him, showing the threatening messages. "People are calling me weak, saying I deserved it. Someone posted my address on Reddit. My address." His face darkened as he scrolled through the messages. "Give me the phone."
"What?"
"No, I need." "Rosa."
"Phone."
Now, his voice left no room for argument. She handed it over, watching as he powered it down completely. "You can't just cut me off from the world." "I can when the world is attacking you." He pocketed her phone. "Vincent is setting up a new number for you. Unlisted. Your real friends and family will get it. Everyone else can wait." She wanted to argue, but exhaustion won out. She sank onto the couch, pulling a throw pillow against her chest like a shield. This was supposed to be a normal night. Serve tables, earn tips, go home. Now I'm viral waitress girl, and there are news vans outside our building. Alessandro sat beside her, his presence solid and grounding. "This will pass." "Will it?" "Because right now it feels like my entire life is being picked apart by strangers." She wiped at her eyes. "Do you know what the worst part is? Not the lemonade or the humiliation. It's that I can't escape it. Every time I close my eyes, I see that moment. And now millions of other people see it too." "What do you want me to do?" It was such a simple question, but the weight behind it made her pause. What did she want? Justice? Revenge? For it all to disappear? "I want to go back to work," she said finally. "I want to prove I'm not broken. I want those men to not have this power over me." "You could take time off. A vacation. Let this blow over. And let them win?" She shook her head.
"No."
"I've worked at Moretti's for 3 years. I love that job. I love our regulars, the kitchen staff, even the crazy Friday night rushes. I'm not giving that up because 2 drunk idiots decided to make me their entertainment." Alessandro was quiet for a long moment. "The restaurant is getting attention too. Positive attention, mostly. People are calling to make reservations specifically to support you. Patricia Hayes is giving interviews about what a gracious and professional server you are." "Patricia?" Rosa felt a flicker of warmth. "That's sweet of her. She started this whole thing. Posted the original video." Rosa's head snapped up. "What?" "She recorded it and put it on Twitter. That's how it went viral." He studied her reaction. "Did you not know?" I thought Marcus recorded it on his phone and posted it himself. I didn't realize she processed this information. Patricia was trying to help me."
"She was."
And now the story has shifted. It's not just about 2 men being cruel. It's about a woman maintaining her dignity under impossible circumstances. You're becoming a symbol, Rosa. I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to be me." "Too late." He touched her cheek gently. "But being a symbol doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're visible. And visibility can be power if you know how to use it." She searched his face. "What are you planning?" "Nothing you need to worry about." Alessandro, she caught his hand. Don't lie to me. I know you. I know that look in your eyes. You're planning something. He was silent for several heartbeats. Then, those men humiliated you, made you bleed, laughed while they did it. Do you really think I'm going to let that slide? I think, she chose her words carefully, I think whatever you're planning will be bigger than just making things even. And I'm afraid of what that means.
For them.
For us. You're afraid I'll hurt them? I'm afraid you'll destroy them. And I don't know if I can live with being the reason someone's entire life falls apart, even if they deserve it. Alessandro pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her like a fortress. When he spoke, his voice was calm, cold, and absolutely certain. They started this, Rosa.
Not you.
They made the choice to humiliate a woman who'd done nothing wrong. They filmed it.
They laughed about it.
They walked out like it meant nothing. His hand stroked her hair. I'm going to finish it.
Not because you asked me to.
Because they need to learn that some people aren't as defenseless as they look. She pulled back to look at him. What does that mean? His smile was gentle, but his eyes were winter ice. It means you go back to work tomorrow. Hold your head high. Let the world see your strength. And trust me to handle the rest. Alessandro. They wanted to make an example of you. Now I'll make an example of them. He kissed her forehead. Nobody touches what's mine. Nobody. The way he said it, so calm, so final, sent a chill down her spine. She should stop him. She should insist he let it go. But a small, dark part of her wanted to see what would happen when Derek Chin and Marcus Webb discovered that the waitress they'd mocked wasn't as powerless as they'd thought. Don't let me see the details, she whispered. Whatever you're going to do. I don't want to know. You won't, he promised. But they both knew she'd see the results eventually. Outside, the reporters waited. Inside, Rosa tried to convince herself that what was coming next would be justice, not destruction. She almost believed it. Monday morning, Derek Chin walked into Bytebolt's sleek downtown office feeling invincible. Sure, there'd been some backlash over the weekend, a few angry tweets, some pearl-clutching on LinkedIn, but his PR team had already drafted an apology statement. Generic. Non-committal. We sincerely regret any distress caused and are reflecting on our actions. The kind of apology that meant nothing, and everyone knew it. Marcus. He called out across the open floor plan. Did you see the TechCrunch article? They're calling us disruptors who play by their own rules. Controversy is just free publicity, man. Marcus Webb looked up from his standing desk, his expression less confident. Yeah, but our Instagram lost 10,000 followers over the weekend. And 3 restaurants canceled their trial subscriptions. 3 out of 43? Derek waved dismissively. We'll sign 6 more by Friday. This is New York. People forget. Now, come on. We've got the investor call in 20 minutes. Let's talk about the Miami expansion. What Derek didn't know was that at 6:47 that morning, a shell company called Apex Distribution LLC had purchased Green Brothers Trucking, one of Bytebolt's primary delivery partners, for $23 million. The Green Brothers had been struggling financially and jumped at the cash offer. The paperwork was so clean, so professional, that they never thought to ask who really owned Apex Distribution. At 7:15 a.m., another shell company, Riverside Holdings, acquired a controlling stake in Mapleton Hardware Supply, which provided the GPS tracking devices Bytebolt used in all their route optimization systems. By 9:30 a.m., when Derek and Marcus were pitching their Miami expansion to board investors on a Zoom call, a third acquisition was being finalized. Skyline Warehouse Solutions, which stored inventory for 12 of Bytebolt's restaurant clients, had just agreed to sell to North Point Ventures. All 3 transactions were legal. All 3 were confidential. All 3 were orchestrated by Vincent Calabrese from a coffee shop in Midtown, using shell companies that traced back to shell companies that traced back to offshore accounts that eventually, if you knew where to look, led back to Alessandro Moretti. But nobody was looking.
Yet.
All right, gentlemen. Great call. Derek ended the Zoom with his signature confidence. They're going to approve the Miami budget. I can feel it. Derek Sarah Chun, their operations manager, appeared at his desk. No relation, despite the shared last name. We have a problem with this afternoon's deliveries. What kind of problem? Green Brothers just called. They're saying they can't fulfill our routes today. Something about new ownership restructuring their client priorities. Derek frowned. Green Brothers? They've been with us since day one. Call them back. Offer them a bonus if they need it. I did. They said it's not about money. Their new management is reviewing all existing contracts. They'll let us know in 48 hours if they can continue service. 48 hours? Marcus had walked over, his face tight with concern. We have deliveries scheduled for today. What are we supposed to do? Use our backup carrier, Derek said. That's why we have backups. Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Our backup is Peterson Logistics. I called them too. They're suddenly at full capacity. Can't take any new routes until next week. Derek's confidence flickered. What about? I've called everyone. It's like every trucking company in Manhattan is suddenly booked solid. That's impossible. Derek pulled up his laptop. It's Monday, not a holiday. No major events. Why would every carrier be at capacity? The answer, if he'd known where to look, was simple. They weren't. But the 3 calls Sarah had made that morning had all been routed to companies now owned, through layers of corporate structure, by Alessandro's network. And they'd all been given the same instruction. Bytebolt gets nothing. By noon, Bytebolt had missed 6 deliveries. Angry restaurant owners were calling. One threatened to switch to a competitor immediately. This is bad, Marcus muttered, pacing the office. Really bad. Our whole business model is built on reliability. We miss deliveries, we lose clients. It's one day, Derek insisted, but his jaw was tight. Everyone has bad days. We'll sort it out. But it wasn't just one day. On Tuesday morning, Mapleton Hardware Supply sent a terse email, effective immediately. All GPS tracking devices would be $40 more expensive per unit. New pricing from new management. No negotiation. $40 per unit? Marcus stared at the email. We use 2,000 units. That's an extra 80 grand a year. Shop around, Derek said. Find another supplier. But when Sarah called their secondary hardware supplier, she got a recorded message. Thank you for calling. We are currently restructuring our client base and not accepting new contracts at this time. Their tertiary supplier? Same message. What the hell is going on? Derek stood in the middle of the office, bewildered. It's like every company we work with suddenly got new management at the exact same time. That's not possible, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Wednesday brought worse news. Skyline Warehouse Solutions, which stored inventory for a third of Bytebolt's clients, announced they were implementing a facilities upgrade that required all current tenants to vacate within 2 weeks. Alternative storage would cost triple the current rate. Derek called their contact at Skyline, a guy named Joe he'd played golf with twice. Joe, what the hell? 2 weeks' notice? That's insane. Not my call anymore, Derek. Joe sounded uncomfortable. New ownership took over. They're cleaning house, renegotiating everything. I'm lucky I still have a job. New ownership? Since when? Paperwork went through over the weekend. Some investment firm. They're tightening margins across the board. Derek hung up and looked at Marcus. For the first time, real fear flickered across both their faces. 3 of our major partners, Marcus said slowly, all bought out in the same week. All suddenly having problems with us specifically. You think someone's targeting us? Because of the video? I think. Marcus pulled up news articles on his phone. I think we really pissed off the wrong people. Look at this. That waitress? The restaurant is called Moretti's. You know who owns half the commercial real estate in Lower Manhattan? The Moretti family. Derek's face went pale. You think no? No way. That's conspiracy theory nonsense. This is just bad timing. Bad luck. But his hands were shaking when he picked up his coffee. In a penthouse office 15 blocks away, Vincent Calabrese sat across from Alessandro Moretti, updating a spreadsheet. Green Brothers acquired Mapleton Hardware, controlled. Skyline Warehouse, controlled. Peterson Logistics, partnered. Vincent looked up. They're starting to notice. Good, Alessandro said calmly. Let them notice. Let them scramble. Let them wonder why everything they touch suddenly turns to smoke. They've missed 14 deliveries in 3 days. 2 clients have already left. Their operations manager is making 30 calls a day trying to find new partners. And finding nothing, it wasn't a question. Nothing we don't control, Vincent smiled thinly. You've built a very effective cage, Alessandro. The cage is just the beginning. Alessandro stood, walking to his window overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Now we tighten it. Slowly. Let them think they can still find a way out. Let them exhaust every option. And when they're truly desperate, then what? Alessandro's reflection in the glass was ice cold. Then I introduced myself. Vincent Calabrese didn't believe in overkill. He believed in precision. On Thursday morning, he spread 3 folders across Alessandro's desk like a surgeon laying out instruments. These are your kill shots, he said simply. Alessandro opened the first folder. Data flow systems. They manufacture the proprietary routing algorithm chips ByteBolt uses. Custom hardware, very specialized. ByteBolt designed their entire software platform around data flow's specifications. Switching to another manufacturer would require rebuilding their entire system from scratch. We're talking 6 months minimum, maybe a year. Who owns Dataflow? Family business. The founder, Robert Hartley, is 68 and wants to retire. His kids have no interest in running a tech manufacturing company. He's been quietly shopping it around for 3 months. No buyers yet, it's too niche. Alessandro smiled. Until now. Until now, Vincent agreed. I can have the papers ready by this afternoon. For millions should close it. Alessandro nodded and opened the second folder. Velocity Freight. The last major trucking company in the tri-state area we don't control or partner with. ByteBolt's been trying to get a contract with them for months. Velocity handles the premium routes, the time-sensitive deliveries that make ByteBolt look good to high-end clients. If we own Velocity, they lose access to their most lucrative delivery window.
Exactly.
Velocity is owned by a woman named Carmen Rodriguez. She's tough, built the company herself, not interested in selling. Vincent paused. But her brother owes some people money. People we know. If we help with that debt, Carmen becomes very motivated to reconsider her position. How much? Brother owes $200,000. We clear it. Offer Carmen $6 million for Velocity. She gets financial freedom. Brother gets a clean slate. We get leverage. Alessandro closed the folder. And the third. Vincent's smile was cold. This one's elegant. OptiServe Cloud Solutions. They provide the server infrastructure for ByteBolt's entire operation. Every route calculation, every client interface, every delivery tracking system, it all runs on OptiServe servers. If OptiServe has problems, ByteBolt's entire platform goes dark. No service, no deliveries, no revenue. Just panicked clients and dead software. Vincent leaned back. OptiServe is venture-backed. They're bleeding money, looking for a buyer. We can acquire them for $8 million. The current CEO doesn't even need to know why we want them. Alessandro studied all 3 folders. Data flow systems. Velocity Freight. OptiServe Cloud. 3 companies that probably didn't even know they were connected. 3 threads that, when pulled together, would strangle ByteBolt Technologies. Buy them all, he said quietly. Today, by 3 p.m., Dataflow Systems had new ownership. Robert Hartley signed the papers in his lawyer's office, tears in his eyes, grateful someone finally valued his life's work. He had no idea what the buyer actually planned to do with his company. By 5 p.m., Carmen Rodriguez's brother walked out of a very uncomfortable meeting with very relieved shoulders, his debt erased. Carmen signed the Velocity Freight papers an hour later, already planning her retirement in Florida. By 7 p.m., OptiServe Cloud Solutions announced new ownership to their confused employees via a company-wide email. The CEO assured everyone it was business as usual and an exciting new chapter. None of them mentioned Alessandro Moretti's name. None of the paperwork traced directly back to him. Vincent had made sure of that. But the cage was now complete. Friday morning, Derek Chin arrived at the office to find Sarah waiting at his desk, her face drawn. Dataflow sent a new contract, she said, handing him the papers. Derek scanned the document and felt his stomach drop. They're tripling the price per chip? That's insane. They say it's new management policy. Either we sign the new terms, or they discontinue service in 30 days. 30 days. Derek's voice rose. We can't rebuild our entire platform in 30 days.
Call them.
Tell them this is breach of contract. I did. Their lawyers say the original contract allows for price adjustments with 30 days' notice. It's legal, Derek. Barely, but legal. Marcus appeared, holding his own stack of papers. Velocity Freight rejected our proposal.
What?
They've been stringing us along for 3 months. New ownership. They're restructuring their client priorities and focusing on long-term contracts with established partners. Marcus threw the papers on Derek's desk. We're not established enough, apparently. Derek wanted to scream. First the trucking problems. Then the hardware costs. Then the warehouse disaster. Now this. How bad is it? He asked quietly. Sarah pulled up a spreadsheet. With Dataflow's new pricing, our hardware costs jumped from $180,000 a year to $540,000. We're already paying triple for warehouse space. We've lost 6 clients this week. Our delivery success rate dropped from 98% to 76%. And our biggest client, Russo's Restaurant Group, is threatening to leave if we miss one more delivery. What about revenue? Down 22% this week alone. If this continues. She didn't need to finish. They all knew what happened if this continued. Someone is doing this to us, Marcus's voice was flat. This isn't bad luck or coincidence. Someone is systematically destroying our company. But who? Derek demanded. Who has the resources to buy out multiple companies just to screw with us?
His phone rang.
Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Chun? A smooth, professional voice. This is Richard Sato from Redstone Capital. I'm calling on behalf of your Series B investors. Derek's blood went cold. Hello, Richard. What can I do for you? We've been reviewing ByteBolt's performance metrics. There are some concerning trends. Missed deliveries, client departures, rising operational costs. The board would like to schedule a call Monday morning to discuss the situation. Of course. Happy to explain. We've had some temporary partner issues, but we're sorting them out. I certainly hope so, Mr. Chin. Your investors have placed considerable trust in ByteBolt. We'd hate to see that trust misplaced. A pause. Have a good weekend. The line went dead. Derek set down his phone with a shaking hand. Marcus and Sarah stared at him. That was Redstone Capital, Derek said. The investors are spooked. How spooked? Marcus asked. Monday morning meeting spooked. Discussing the situation spooked. Derek ran his hands through his hair. If the investors lose confidence, if they think we're failing, they'll pull funding, Sarah finished. Or force us out. Or both. The 3 of them sat in silence, the weight of their collapsing empire pressing down like a physical force. Derek thought back to Saturday night. The lemonade. The laughter. The slow waitress who'd looked at him with those hurt, humiliated eyes. It had been funny then. Just a joke. A way to blow off steam. Now, staring at spreadsheets showing his company bleeding out, it didn't feel funny at all. Find out who's buying these companies, he told Sarah. I don't care what it costs. Hire investigators if you have to. Someone is doing this, and I want to know who. But even as he said it, a cold certainty was settling in his chest. He knew who. He just didn't want to believe it yet. Rosa stood outside Moretti's on Monday evening, staring at the familiar burgundy awning. She'd walked past this restaurant 1,000 times. Pushed through those brass-handled doors for 3 years without a second thought. Now it felt like walking onto a stage. You can do this, she whispered to herself. It's just work. But it wasn't just work anymore. Not after the video. Not after becoming the face of workplace dignity across social media. Not after the morning shows had called her an inspiration and think pieces had been written about her quiet strength in the face of privilege. She pulled open the door. The hostess, Jenna, looked up and immediately burst into tears. Rosa! Oh my God, Rosa! She rushed around the podium and threw her arms around her. We were so worried. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I've been so angry I could barely sleep. I'm fine, Jenna. Really? Rosa gently extracted herself from the embrace. Is Marco in the kitchen? He's been like a bear all week. Kept saying you shouldn't come back until those men were. She stopped herself. He's been protective. Rosa made her way to the back, acutely aware that every staff member was watching her. The busboy gave her a thumbs up. The sommelier squeezed her shoulder as she passed. Two other waitresses stopped their prep work to smile at her with expressions that were equal parts admiration and pity. She hated it. Marco emerged from the kitchen, dish towel over his shoulder. His face cracked into a relieved smile. Rosa. Thank God, he pulled her into a brief, tight hug. How are you holding up? Everyone keeps asking me that, she said quietly. I just want to work. About that, he gestured to his office. Can we talk for a minute? Her stomach sank. Are you firing me?
What?
No.
God, no.
The opposite, he closed the office door behind them. Rosa, do you know what this week has been like? We've had reservations booked solid for the next month. People are calling specifically to be seated in your section. We've gotten letters, flowers, even a marriage proposal sent to the restaurant for you. A marriage proposal? From someone in Wisconsin who's moved by your grace under pressure. Marco shook his head. You've become, I don't even know what to call it, a phenomenon. I just want to be a waitress, Marco. I know. But that's not really an option anymore, is it? He spoke gently. People see you differently now. The staff sees you differently. You're not just Rosa, who works Section 3 and always remembers to refill water glasses. You're Rosa who stood there with dignity while entitled jerks tried to break you. That's not fair, her voice cracked. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to be some symbol. I just wanted to get through my shift. Life doesn't always ask permission before it changes everything. Marco studied her face. Are you sure you're ready to be back? She thought about the alternative. Hiding in her apartment. Watching the news vans slowly leave. Letting Derek Shin and Marcus Webb chase her away from a job she loved. I'm ready, she said. I have to be. But ready and capable were different things. Her first table of the night was a couple in their 50s. The moment Rosa approached, the woman's eyes widened in recognition.
Oh
my goodness, Stephen, it's her. It's the waitress from the video. She grabbed Rosa's hand. Sweetheart, you are so brave. What you went through is horrible, but you handled it with such grace. You're an inspiration. Thank you, Rosa managed. Can I start you with drinks? You should write a book, the woman continued. Really? Your story could help so many people who face workplace abuse. Have you thought about going on talk shows? I bet Ellen would love to have you. Stephen looked embarrassed. Honey, let her do her job. I'm just saying she's special. The woman beamed at Rosa, like she was a celebrity. We drove in from Connecticut specifically to eat here and support you. Rosa took their order with shaking hands. This happened 3 more times that night. Customers who treated her like a visiting dignitary instead of their server. Who wanted photos. Who left $100 tips on $40 bills and little notes saying, stay strong and you're amazing. By 9 p.m., Rosa was hiding in the walk-in freezer, trying not to cry. Marco found her there.
Hey.
You okay? No, she hugged herself against the cold. I can't do this. Everyone's staring at me. Treating me like I'm made of glass. Or like I'm some kind of hero. I'm not a hero, Marco. I'm just a person who got humiliated and now can't escape it. You want to quit? The question hung in the frozen air.
Did she?
It would be easier. She could find another restaurant, one where nobody knew her face. Start over somewhere quiet. I don't know, she whispered. Maybe. That night, she told Alessandro. They sat on the couch in their living room, the city lights glittering through the windows. I thought going back would make things normal again, she said. But it's worse. Everyone treats me differently. I'm not Rosa anymore. I'm Lemonade Girl, or that brave waitress, or worst of all, an inspiration. I don't want to inspire anyone. I just want my life back. Alessandro was quiet for a long moment. What did you feel when that picture hit you? She blinked at the question. What? In that moment, when the lemonade splashed over you and they laughed, what did you feel? Rosa closed her eyes, remembering. Humiliated. Small. Powerless. And when you finished your shift that night, when you could have walked out but didn't, I felt, she searched for the word, stronger than them, like they'd tried to break me and failed. That's grace, Rosa, he took her hand. Not the pretty, easy kind. The hard kind. The kind that stands up when everything in you wants to collapse. You showed everyone what real strength looks like. I don't feel strong. I feel exhausted. Strength and exhaustion aren't opposites. He turned to face her fully. You stood with grace. Now, let them see what grace backed by power looks like. What do you mean? His smile was dangerous and gentle at the same time. I mean, don't quit. Don't hide. Don't let them chase you away from something you love. You go back tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. You hold your ground. And what will you be doing? What I do best, he kissed her forehead. Making sure those who hurt you understand exactly how expensive their entertainment was. She should have asked more questions. Should have demanded to know his plans. But part of her, the part that still felt sticky lemonade running down her back, still heard that mocking laughter, didn't want to know. Don't let me see it, she said finally. Whatever you're doing, I don't want the details. You won't see anything, Alessandro promised. Except Chen and Webb learning the most important lesson of their lives. Which is? His eyes were cold steel. Some people look defenseless. But everyone has someone who would burn the world down for them. Rosa shivered and pulled closer to him, wondering if she should feel guilty for not stopping what was coming. She didn't feel guilty at all. The email from Russo's restaurant group arrived at 7:43 a.m. on Wednesday. Marcus read it twice, hoping the words would somehow change. Dear Bite Bowl Technologies, due to continued service disruptions and missed delivery windows, we are terminating our contract effective immediately. We will be transitioning to OptiRoute Solutions. Please cease all deliveries and return any Russo's branded materials within 48 hours. Russo's wasn't just a client. They were the client. 27 locations across Manhattan and Brooklyn. Nearly 30% of Bite Bolt's monthly revenue. Derek, Marcus's voice sounded hollow as he walked into the CEO's office. We lost Russo's. Derek looked up from his laptop, his face already haggard from a week of crisis management. What? They're gone. Effective immediately. Switching to OptiRoute. For a moment, Derek just stared. Then he stood up, walked to his window overlooking the city, and very quietly said, Fuck. It gets worse, Marcus continued. OptiServe sent an email at 6 a.m. They're implementing emergency maintenance on our servers this Friday. 4-hour shutdown window. Right in the middle of our busiest delivery period. They can't do that. We have contracts. SLA guarantees. They say it's critical infrastructure updates. Non-negotiable. Marcus dropped into a chair. Derek, we're hemorrhaging. Russo's is gone. We lost Chen's grocery chain yesterday. Park Avenue Catering last week. Our client list is down to 31 from 43. That's 12 clients in 2 weeks. I know the numbers, Marcus. Do you know this one? Our delivery success rate is now at 61%. 61%, Derek. We promised 98% minimum. Our competitors are at 95%, he laughed bitterly. We're not just losing. We're being obliterated. Derek's phone buzzed. Then Marcus's. Then every phone in the office seemed to light up simultaneously. Sarah burst through the door, her face pale. The OptiServe shutdown? It's not 4 hours. I just got off the phone with their support team. It's 3 days. Friday through Sunday. Complete service interruption. That's impossible, Derek said. We have deliveries scheduled. We have clients depending on us. Not anymore, Sarah's voice was shaking. I've gotten 6 cancellation emails in the last 20 minutes. Word is spreading. Nobody wants to risk their deliveries with us offline for 3 days. Call OptiServe. Offer them double, triple, whatever it takes to postpone the maintenance. I tried. They said the decision came from ownership level and isn't negotiable. She looked between Derek and Marcus. Who owns OptiServe now? Does anyone know? Nobody answered. In the main office space, the atmosphere was toxic with panic. Employees huddled in small groups, speaking in low, worried voices. Everyone could see the writing on the wall. ByteBolt was dying. Tom Henderson, their lead developer, approached Derek's office. We need to talk about contingencies. What kind of contingencies? The OptiServe shutdown. We should migrate to backup servers before Friday. We don't have backup servers, Tom. Our entire infrastructure is built on their system. Then we need to build them.
Now.
I can have the team working around the clock. With what money? Marcus cut in. Do you know how much cloud infrastructure costs? We're already burning through cash faster than we can replace it. Tom's face hardened. So what's the plan? We just let the company go dark for 3 days and hope our remaining clients don't all leave? The plan, Derek said through gritted teeth, is I'm working on it. But he wasn't working on it. He was drowning in it. By Thursday afternoon, ByteBolt's Slack channels were chaos. Engineers discussing other job opportunities. The sales team sharing LinkedIn posts from competitors who were hiring. Someone had created a private channel called Exit Strategy that 17 people had already joined. Derek called an all-hands meeting at 4 p.m. The conference room was packed, but the energy was funeral quiet. I know you're all worried, he began. I know the last 2 weeks have been hell. But ByteBolt is strong. We've faced challenges before. We've never lost 12 clients in 2 weeks, someone called out from the back. We've never had our infrastructure shut down during peak hours, another voice added. Derek held up his hands. I understand the frustration, but we're working on solutions. New partnerships. Alternative providers. We're going to weather this storm. Are we? Tom stood up. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like someone is systematically destroying this company. Every partner we rely on suddenly has problems. Every backup option disappears. This isn't bad luck, Derek. This is coordinated. The room erupted in murmurs. That's conspiracy thinking, Derek said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Sarah spoke up, surprising everyone. Dataflow gets bought, triples our prices. Green Brothers gets bought, cuts us off. Skyline gets bought, kicks us out. Velocity gets bought, rejects our contract. OptiServe gets bought. We get it, Marcus interrupted sharply. Do we? Sarah looked around the room. 5 critical partners. All bought in the same 2-week period. All suddenly hostile to us, specifically. And nobody can tell me who actually bought them. The ownership structures are all shell companies and offshore accounts. So, what are you suggesting? Derek demanded. Someone with unlimited resources decided to destroy ByteBolt for fun? Not for fun, Tom said quietly. For revenge. The word hung in the air like smoke. Derek felt every eye in the room turn to him. They all knew. Of course they knew. The video had gone viral. Everyone had seen it. They'd just been too polite or too afraid to say anything. The waitress thing, someone whispered. No way, another employee said. That's insane. Who would have that kind of power? But Sarah was already pulling up her phone, typing frantically. The restaurant. Moretti's. Who owns it? She read from her screen. Owned by the Moretti family. Real estate holdings across Lower Manhattan. Connections to, she stopped, her face going white. Connections to what? Marcus asked. She looked up at Derek, and he saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. The Moretti family isn't just restaurant owners, she said slowly. They're connected to some serious people. Like, organized crime serious. And Alessandro Moretti specifically, she swallowed hard. He owns about 40 different businesses across New York, through various holding companies. He's basically untouchable. The room went silent. Derek felt the floor drop out from under him. The waitress, Rosa, the woman he'd splashed with lemonade and laughed at while his friend filmed. Alessandro Moretti's wife. Oh God, Marcus whispered beside him.
Derek.
What did we do? Derek couldn't answer. He was too busy calculating how thoroughly, how completely, how irreversibly screwed they were. By Friday morning, BiteBolt had 16 clients left. OptiServe's shutdown was in effect. The office felt like a mausoleum. And Derek Chin finally understood what it meant to be powerless. The same way Rosa had felt, standing in that restaurant with lemonade dripping down her uniform while he laughed. Except his humiliation was only beginning. The conference call with Redstone Capital started badly and got worse. Let me make sure I understand correctly. Richard Sato's voice came through the speaker with ice-cold precision. In 2 weeks, you've lost 27 clients, your operational costs have increased by 340%, and your platform was completely offline for 72 hours. Derek sat at the head of BiteBolt's conference table, Marcus beside him, both looking like defendants at their own trial. On the screen, 6 faces stared back at them. The investment partners who'd bet $80 million on BiteBolt's future. We experienced some unexpected infrastructure challenges, Derek began. Unexpected. Jennifer Park, another partner, cut him off. Mr. Chin, we've reviewed the timeline. 5 of your critical partners were acquired within a 2-week window. All 5 immediately became hostile to your business. Our analysts don't believe in coincidence on this scale. We're exploring all possibilities. Are you being targeted? Richard asked bluntly. Because if someone is waging economic warfare against BiteBolt, we need to know.
Now.
Derek exchanged a glance with Marcus. They'd spent 3 days debating whether to tell the investors about their suspicions. About the viral video. About Alessandro Moretti. There may be personal factors involved, Marcus said carefully. Personal factors? Jennifer leaned toward her camera. What does that mean? An incident occurred 2 weeks ago. At a restaurant. It involved. Derek's throat was dry. It involved us and a member of the waitstaff. The incident was recorded and went viral. The investors stared. You're telling us, Richard said slowly, that this company's collapse is connected to you two being rude to a waitress. When he said it like that, it sounded absurd. Impossible. Like conspiracy theory nonsense. Except the numbers didn't lie. We believe the restaurant owner may be connected to the acquisitions, Marcus said. We've tried to verify, but what? Our lawyers can't trace the ownership structures. Everything leads to shell companies. There was a long, dangerous silence. Let me be very clear, Richard said. Redstone Capital invested $80 million in BiteBolt Technologies based on your projections, your leadership, and your business model. That model is now in ruins. Your client base has collapsed. Your operational infrastructure is compromised. And you're suggesting this is because you threw lemonade at someone's employee? It's more complicated than. I don't care how complicated it is. Jennifer's voice rose. You have 2 weeks to stabilize this company, or we're exercising our contractual rights. That means removing you from leadership, bringing in interim management, and either selling whatever's left or shutting down entirely. 2 weeks isn't enough time to. Then you'd better work fast. Richard's face was stone. Find out who's doing this. Fix it. Or say goodbye to your company. This call is over. The screen went black. Derek put his head in his hands. Marcus sat motionless beside him. We're going to lose everything, Marcus whispered. 4 years of work. Everything we built.
Gone.
Not yet. Derek looked up, his eyes desperate. We fight back. We hire investigators. We find out exactly who bought those companies, and we what, Derek? Sue them? They haven't done anything illegal. Buying companies is legal. Changing contract terms with proper notice is legal. They're strangling us with perfectly legal moves. So, we just give up? I don't know. Marcus stood, pacing. I don't know what we do. We can't trace the ownership. We can't find the buyer. We can't even prove there is a coordinated attack. It just looks like really, really bad luck. Derek's phone buzzed. Then Marcus's. They both looked down at the identical text from an unknown number. Mr. Chun, Mr. Webb. I represent certain parties interested in discussing ByteBolt's current difficulties. A private meeting can be arranged. Saturday, 8 p.m., Continental Club, private dining room.
Come alone.
This is your only opportunity. They stared at the message. It's him, Marcus breathed. It has to be, or it's a scam. Or a trap. You think we have a choice? Marcus showed Derek the message again. This is someone with real information. Someone who knows what's happening to us. We need to take this meeting. Derek wanted to refuse. Wanted to tell Marcus they should go to the police, or hire bodyguards, or do literally anything except walk into a private meeting with whoever was systematically destroying their lives. But what choice did they have? We bring lawyers, Derek said finally. The text says come alone. I don't care what it says. We're not walking into some private room without representation. If someone wants to talk business, we talk with lawyers present. They hired Morrison and Associates, the best corporate litigation firm they could find on short notice. Cost them $15,000 just for the consultation. Alan Morrison was a shark in a tailored suit. He listened to their story with increasing concern. Let me understand, he said. You believe someone has acquired 5 separate companies for the sole purpose of damaging your business? Yes. And you believe this is retaliation for a personal incident? Yes. And you can't prove any of it. Derek and Marcus said nothing. Morrison leaned back. Gentlemen, even if we could trace these acquisitions back to a single source, which we can't because they're structured specifically to prevent that, there's no crime here. Buying companies is legal. Changing contract terms is legal. What you're describing is economic competition, not criminal conspiracy. But it's targeted. Derek protested. It's deliberate. Prove it. In court. With evidence, Morrison folded his hands. You can't. Which means legally you have no recourse. Whoever is doing this knows exactly how to operate within the law while destroying you. So, what do we do? Marcus asked. Take the meeting, Morrison said. Find out what they want. Maybe they're willing to negotiate. Maybe there's a settlement option. But go in knowing you're in a very weak position. How weak? Morrison's smile was grim. You're bleeding out, gentlemen. And whoever scheduled this meeting knows it. They're not inviting you to negotiate as equals. They're inviting you to surrender. Saturday evening, Derek and Marcus stood outside the Continental Club in their best suits, feeling like they were walking to their own execution. Morrison waited in a car across the street, ready to intervene if things went wrong. Though what intervening would accomplish, none of them knew. The maitre d' was expecting them. Mr. Chun, Mr. Webb, right this way. He led them through the elegant restaurant to a private dining room in the back. Heavy oak door. Soundproofed walls. The kind of room where important deals were made and broken. The kind of room where men with real power operated. Your host will be with you shortly, the maitre d' said, and closed the door behind him. Derek and Marcus waited in suffocating silence. 2 minutes.
5. 10.
Then the door opened. Alessandro Moretti walked in. He was younger than Derek expected. Early 40s, impeccably dressed, with the kind of calm that came from absolute confidence. No bodyguards. No lawyers. Just him and a leather folder. Derek felt his knees go weak. Marcus made a small sound in his throat. Alessandro closed the door, walked to the head of the table, and sat down. He didn't smile, didn't threaten, just looked at them with eyes that could have been carved from ice. Gentlemen, he said quietly, I believe you've been looking for me. Alessandro Moretti, Didn't look like a man who'd just spent 2 weeks dismantling a multi-million-dollar company. He looked like someone ordering dinner. Derek found his voice first. Mr. Moretti.
We
wanted to meet with you. To discuss. I know what you want to discuss. Alessandro's voice was soft, almost gentle. It was somehow more terrifying than if he'd shouted. You want to know why your company is falling apart. You want to understand why every business partner you've ever had is suddenly unavailable. You want to make a deal. Marcus gripped the edge of the table. You bought them. All of them. Dataflow, Green Brothers, Skyline. I have diverse business interests. Alessandro opened the leather folder, pulled out several sheets of paper, and slid them across the polished wood. But we're not here to discuss my portfolio. We're here to discuss yours. Derek picked up the papers with shaking hands. It was a purchase agreement. Bytebolt Technologies. All assets, patents, software, warehouse leases, client contracts, everything for $800,000. $800,000? Derek's voice cracked. Bytebolt is worth $47 million. We just raised $80 million in Series B funding. You raised $80 million, Alessandro corrected. Past tense. Your company was worth $47 million. Right now, it's worth whatever I'm willing to pay. And I'm being generous. This is extortion.
No.
Extortion is illegal. Alessandro leaned back in his chair. This is business. You have a failing company. I'm offering to buy it. You're welcome to refuse and find other buyers. His smile was razor-thin. Good luck with that. Marcus stared at the papers. Why are you doing this? What did we do to you? The question hung in the air. Alessandro's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Something dark and cold. You really don't know? He asked quietly.
The video, Derek said.
The waitress. But that was it was a stupid mistake. We were drunk. You didn't mean to throw a pitcher at someone? You didn't mean to humiliate her in front of a room full of people? You didn't mean to film it and laugh while she bled? Alessandro's voice remained soft, but each word landed like a hammer. Which part was the accident exactly? We're sorry, Marcus blurted out. We are. It was wrong. We know that. But you can't destroy an entire company because of one mistake. That's insane. Insane. Alessandro stood, walking slowly around the table toward them. Neither Derek nor Marcus could bring themselves to move. Let me tell you what's insane. Two men with every advantage, wealth, education, success, decide to entertain themselves by humiliating someone who served them with courtesy and professionalism. They don't just insult her. They assault her. They film it. They laugh. And then they leave a 50-cent tip and walk away like it meant nothing. He stopped directly behind Derek's chair. Derek could feel him there, a presence like winter itself. That woman has worked at Moretti's for 3 years, Alessandro continued. She knows every regular by name. She remembers their orders, their allergies, their anniversaries. She's been Employee of the Month 11 times. She volunteers at a food bank on her days off. And you threw lemonade at her for being too slow. We'll apologize, Derek said desperately. Publicly. We'll donate to charity in her name. Whatever you want.
Just, please.
Don't take everything. Alessandro walked back to his seat and sat down, his movements controlled and deliberate. You want to apologize? You want to make amends? Here's your opportunity. He pulled out another document and slid it across. Derek picked it up. A public apology event, Derek read aloud. At Moretti's restaurant. Formal attire. Full press coverage. His voice died in his throat as he reached the last line. Rosa Moretti. The name hit him like a freight train. Rosa Moretti. Marcus grabbed the paper, his face going white. The waitress is my wife, Alessandro finished calmly. Though she insisted on keeping her maiden name at work. She wanted to be treated like everyone else. Not as the owner's wife. Just as Rosa, the waitress who works section 3-inch. Derek felt the room spin. The waitress he'd mocked. The woman he'd splashed with lemonade. The person whose humiliation he'd found so entertaining. She was married to the man who now owned his entire business infrastructure. "Oh God," Marcus whispered. "We didn't know. We had no idea. Would it have mattered?" Alessandro's eyes were merciless. If she'd been someone else's wife, someone less powerful, would that have made it acceptable? Neither of them could answer. Alessandro tapped the purchase agreement. "Here's how this works. You sign these papers. You sell me BiteBolt for $800,000, barely enough to cover your legal fees and outstanding debts. You attend the public apology at my restaurant, where you will look Rosa in the eye and apologize for what you did. In front of cameras. In front of the city. You will mean it." "And if we refuse?" Derek asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then I don't buy BiteBolt. I let it collapse. Your investors will force you out within a week. You'll have to declare bankruptcy. Your reputation in the tech industry will be destroyed. Every future venture you attempt will be associated with a company that imploded because you couldn't treat a waitress with basic human decency." Alessandro's smile was ice. "And I'll still own 60% of the logistics infrastructure in Manhattan. Your competition will thrive on the ashes of your failure." He pushed the papers closer. "Sell," he said quietly, "or watch everything burn." Derek looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at the papers. $800,000. For years of work, dreams of expansion and success, and making their mark on the world. All of it gone because of one cruel moment. "We need time to think," Marcus tried. "No, you don't." Alessandro checked his watch. "Your Series B investors are meeting tomorrow morning to vote on removing you from leadership. If you sign now, we can issue a joint press release tonight. BiteBolt Technology is acquired by Moretti Ventures in strategic partnership. You get to save face.
Keep your dignity.
Walk away with something instead of nothing." "We built this company from scratch," Derek said, his voice breaking. 4 years of our lives. "Rosa's been building her career for longer," Alessandro replied. "And you try to destroy it in 3 minutes. For a joke." The words hung there, undeniable and damning. Derek picked up the pen. His hand shook so badly, he could barely grip it. "Where do we sign?" Alessandro pointed to the signature lines.
"Here."
"And here." "And initial here." Derek signed. Then Marcus. Each signature felt like cutting off a piece of himself. When it was done, Alessandro collected the papers and stood. "The apology event is next Friday, 7 p.m. Be on time. Wear appropriate attire. And gentlemen." They looked up at him, 2 broken men in expensive suits. "Learn something from this," Alessandro said. "Power isn't about how many people you can humiliate. It's about how thoroughly you can dismantle those who try." He walked out, leaving them sitting in the private dining room with the ruins of their empire scattered across the table. Marcus put his head in his hands and wept. Derek just stared at the closed door, finally understanding what Rosa must have felt that night. Powerless.
Small. Destroyed.
Except when it happened to her, she'd stood with dignity. He'd signed away everything he'd built and still felt like a coward. The press release went out at 11 p.m. Saturday night. BiteBolt Technologies acquired by Moretti Ventures in strategic partnership. Founders Chun and Webb to remain as advisors during transition period. The tech blogs picked it up immediately. By Sunday morning, the narrative was everywhere. BiteBolt sold after operational struggles and tech darlings exit after rapid decline. Some articles mentioned the viral video. Most focused on the business angle, the mysterious collapse, the failed partnerships, the convenient timing of Moretti Ventures swooping in to acquire the struggling company. Nobody except Derek, Marcus, and Alessandro knew the real price. $800,000 for a company that had been worth 60 times that amount 3 weeks ago. Derek sat in his Brooklyn brownstone Sunday afternoon, staring at the wire transfer confirmation on his laptop. After taxes, legal fees, and splitting with Marcus, his share was $287,000. Less than he'd made in a single year as BiteBolt CEO. His fiancée, Chelsea, found him there at 4 p.m., still in yesterday's clothes, surrounded by empty coffee cups. Derek? What's wrong? You didn't come to bed last night. He couldn't look at her. We sold Bite Bolt.
You. What?
I thought you were just having temporary problems. You said you were meeting with someone to fix things. We sold it.
For nothing.
For less than nothing, his voice was hollow. It's over, Chelsea. Everything we built.
Gone.
She sat beside him, taking in the devastation on his face. I don't understand. How did this happen? That video. The waitress, he finally met her eyes. She was Alessandro Moretti's wife. Chelsea's face went pale. Even she, who worked in fashion and barely followed business news, knew that name. Everyone in New York knew that name. Oh my God, Derek. What did he do? He took everything. Derek laughed bitterly. Legally.
Perfectly.
He bought out every company we worked with, choked our business until we were drowning, and then offered to buy the corpse for pennies. And we took it because the alternative was watching it collapse completely. Can't you fight this? Sue him? For what? Buying companies? That's not illegal. He never threatened us. Never broke any laws. He just
squeezed.
Until there was nothing left but surrender. Chelsea was quiet for a long time. The apology video you guys posted last week. That wasn't enough. Apparently not. Derek pulled up the email Alessandro's lawyer had sent. We have to do a public apology. In person. At his restaurant. This Friday. With press coverage. That's humiliating. The word hung between them. Humiliating. Like standing in a room full of people with lemonade dripping down your uniform. Like bleeding while strangers laughed. Yeah, Derek said quietly. I guess it is. Across town, Marcus Webb sat in his apartment with his lawyer, Alan Morrison, going through what was left of his options. There has to be something, Marcus insisted. Some legal recourse. Some way to prove he targeted us deliberately. Morrison shook his head. I've been over this a dozen times. Every acquisition was legal. Every contract change followed proper procedure. Yes, the timing is suspicious. Yes, the coordinated nature suggests deliberate action. But suspicion isn't evidence. And even if we could prove it was deliberate, so what? He's allowed to buy companies. He's allowed to change contract terms. There's no law against being a very strategic competitor. He destroyed us for revenge. Prove it. In court. With documentation showing his explicit intent to harm Bite Bolt specifically because of a personal grievance, Morrison spread his hands. You can't. Which means you have no case. Marcus slumped in his chair. So we just
take it?
Show up Friday and grovel. You made a deal. You signed papers. You took his money, not much money, but his money nonetheless. Now you fulfill your end of the bargain. Morrison started packing his briefcase. My advice? Make the apology genuine. Mean it. Because if Alessandro Moretti thinks you're being insincere, I guarantee he has ways to make your life even more difficult than it already is. How is that possible? He already took everything. Morrison paused at the door. He took your company. He could still take your reputation, your future employment prospects, your ability to ever work in tech again. Right now, you're founders who sold their struggling company. You can recover from that. But if you piss him off further? He shook his head. I've seen what happens to people who make enemies of men like Alessandro Moretti. They don't just lose once. They keep losing. After Morrison left, Marcus called Derek. Are we really doing this? Marcus asked. The apology? Do we have a choice? We could refuse. Leave town. Start over somewhere else. With what money? What reputation? Derek's laugh was harsh. He won everything, Marcus. The company, the contracts, the assets. All we have left is the chance to walk away with some dignity. If we refuse the apology, we lose that too. I can't believe it came to this. One stupid night. One cruel joke. It wasn't a joke, Derek said quietly. We need to stop calling it that. It wasn't a joke. It was assault. It was humiliation for our entertainment. And now we're paying for it. You sound like you think we deserve this. Derek thought about Rose's face in that video. The way she'd stood there, trembling but not crying. The blood on her hand from the broken glass. The dignity in her silence. "Maybe we do," he said. On Monday morning, Rosa found Alessandro in his study, reading through financial reports. "Vincent told me," she said from the doorway, "about Bytebolt, about the sale." Alessandro set down his papers. "And you didn't tell me. You said you'd handle it, but you didn't tell me you were going to take everything from them." "I told you not to ask for details." "I didn't ask." Vincent volunteered. She walked in, sat across from him. "Alessandro, they lost everything. Their company, their money, their futures. All because of what they did to me." "All because of what they did," he corrected. "This isn't your fault, Rosa. This is consequences." "It feels like too much." "Does it?" His eyes met hers. "They spent 3 minutes humiliating you. I spent 2 weeks dismantling what they built with that cruelty. Is that disproportionate? Maybe. But it's done." The apology. "Friday night. Do I have to be there?" "Yes," his voice was firm. "Not for them.
For you.
So you can see them face the consequences of their actions. So the city can see them acknowledge what they did. You don't have to forgive them. You don't have to say anything. Just stand there with the same dignity you showed that night." Rosa was quiet for a long moment. "What if I can't?" "You can." Alessandro reached across the desk, taking her hand. "You're stronger than you know. You proved that already. Now let them, and everyone watching, see what real strength looks like when it's backed by real power." She squeezed his hand, still uncertain but trusting him. Friday was coming, and with it, the final act of a drama that had begun with laughter and would end with 2 powerful men on their knees. Not literally, but close enough. The question was, would it bring Rosa peace, or just more unwanted attention? She'd find out in 5 days. Friday arrived like a storm everyone could see coming. By 5 p.m., news vans lined the street outside Moretti's. Reporters positioned themselves with perfect sight lines to the entrance. Someone had leaked that tonight's event wasn't just a corporate formality. It was 2 tech entrepreneurs publicly apologizing to the waitress they'd humiliated in the viral video. The story had everything: wealth, cruelty, consequences, redemption. Social media was already buzzing with speculation and commentary. Inside the restaurant, Rosa stood in the back hallway, smoothing down her uniform for the 5th time. She'd insisted on wearing it. Not a dress, not something fancy. The same crisp white shirt and black pants she wore every shift. "You don't have to do this," Marco said gently. "Alessandro can handle it without you." "No," her voice was steady. "I need to be here. I need to see their faces. You're braver than I am."
She wasn't sure about that.
Her hands were shaking. Her stomach felt like it was full of ice. But she'd spent 3 weeks being viral waitress girl, pitted, celebrated, dissected by strangers. Tonight, she wanted to be Rosa again. Not a symbol, not a victim, just a woman who refused to disappear. In the main dining room, Alessandro had arranged everything precisely. A small podium at the front, chairs for press. The rest of the restaurant had been reserved, regulars only. People who'd been coming to Moretti's for years. People who knew Rosa. Patricia Hayes sat in the front row, her hands folded in her lap, her face set with grim satisfaction. At 6:45 p.m., Derek and Marcus arrived. They wore dark suits, crisp shirts, somber ties. They looked like they were attending a funeral. In a way, they were the funeral of their reputations as untouchable tech darlings. Alessandro met them at the door. "Gentlemen." "Mr. Moretti," Derek's voice was hoarse. He'd barely slept in 5 days. "You'll speak from the podium.
Keep it brief.
Be sincere. Rosa will be present, but she won't speak. This is your opportunity to show the city, and her, that you understand what you did." Alessandro's eyes were ice. "Don't waste it." They nodded, mute and miserable. At 7 p.m. exactly, the doors opened to the press. Cameras flooded the room with light. Reporters jockeyed for position. The event was being live-streamed by 3 major outlets. Alessandro stepped to the podium first. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who owned the room and everyone in it. 3 weeks ago, an incident occurred in this restaurant. 2 customers assaulted one of our staff members, my wife, Rosa, and that assault was captured on video and seen by millions. The cameras swiveled, finding Rosa standing near the bar. She kept her face composed, her hands clasped in front of her. "Tonight," Alessandro continued, "Mr. Chun and Mr. Webb have asked for the opportunity to apologize.
Publicly.
In the same place where they caused harm. I've agreed to give them that opportunity." His pause was weighted. Not for their benefit. For hers. He stepped aside. Derek approached the podium like a man walking to the gallows. The cameras focused on him, his pale face, his trembling hands, the sweat on his brow despite the cool evening air. "My name is Derek Chin," he began. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again. 3 weeks ago, I came to this restaurant with my business partner. We had too much to drink. We were rude. We were cruel. And we assaulted a woman who had done nothing wrong. The room was silent except for the click of cameras. Rosa Martinez, Rosa Moretti, served us with professionalism and courtesy. And we repaid that by mocking her, throwing things at her, and filming her humiliation for our entertainment. Derek's hands gripped the podium. There's no excuse for what we did. Not the alcohol. Not the stress. Not anything. He looked directly at Rosa for the first time. She met his gaze without flinching. "I'm sorry," Derek said, and his voice broke completely. "I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. I was cruel because I could be, because I thought it was funny, because I didn't see you as a real person." Tears streamed down his face now, genuine and uncontrolled. "I see you now, and I'm ashamed of what I did." He stepped back. Marcus took his place. If Derek had looked broken, Marcus looked haunted. His hands shook visibly as he gripped the podium. "I filmed it," he said quietly. "Derek threw the picture, but I filmed it. I made sure to capture her face, her humiliation. I thought it was content. Entertainment." He shook his head. "Rosa, I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me. But I need you to know that what I did, was wrong on every level.
You were doing your job.
We were supposed to be decent human beings. We failed." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I'm sorry. For everything." The cameras captured it all. 2 powerful men, tears streaming, voices breaking, apologizing to a waitress in front of the entire city. Rosa stood silent throughout. She didn't cry, didn't smile, didn't gloat. She just stood there with the same quiet dignity she'd shown that night, the dignity that had started all of this. When Marcus stepped away from the podium, Alessandro returned. "Rosa," he said gently, "do you want to say anything?" Every eye in the room turned to her. The cameras zoomed in. The reporters leaned forward. She could say anything, could condemn them further, could accept their apology, could tell her story in her own words. Instead, she walked forward slowly, her footsteps echoing in the silent room. She stopped in front of Derek and Marcus, looking at them with eyes that had seen their worst and survived it. "I accept your apology," she said quietly.
Not warmly.
Not with forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. What you did hurt me. What happened after hurt me too. The attention, the scrutiny, the loss of my privacy.
I hope you've learned something from this.
I hope nobody else has to learn the way I did." She turned to the cameras. "I'm not a symbol. I'm not inspiration. I'm just someone who went to work and got hurt by people who thought cruelty was entertainment. It happens every day to people everywhere, usually without cameras. Without justice." Her voice strengthened. "Maybe this changes something. Maybe people think twice before treating service workers like they're less than human. That's what I hope comes from all of this." She walked back to her position by the bar. The room erupted, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing, the sound of a moment that would be replayed 1,000 times. Alessandro raised his hand for silence. That's all. Thank you for coming. The restaurant is closed for the evening. As the press filed out, still shouting questions, Patricia Hayes approached Rosa and hugged her tightly. You are perfect, honey, she whispered. Just perfect. Rosa hugged her back, finally letting the tears come now that the cameras were gone. Derek and Marcus stood by the door, uncertain. Alessandro gestured to them. You can go, he said simply. They left without another word, walking past reporters into the Manhattan night. Their faces streamed across a dozen platforms within minutes. Rosa watched them go and felt, what? Not satisfaction, not victory, just the heavy, complicated weight of consequences playing out in real time. Is it over? She asked Alessandro. He put his arm around her shoulders. It's over. But they both knew that wasn't quite true. The aftermath was just beginning. 6 weeks later, Rosa walked into Moretti's for the evening shift and felt something different in the air.
Not pity anymore.
Not awkward sympathy or uncomfortable hero worship.
Just
respect. Section 3, as always, Marco said, handing her the evening assignments with a genuine smile. You've got the Johnson family, they requested you specifically. Said nobody else gets their daughter's dairy allergy right. Rosa smiled back. Tell them I'll be right there. It had taken time, but slowly, so slowly, things had returned to something resembling normal. The news vans were gone. The interview requests had dwindled to nothing. Her social media had quieted down to the occasional supportive message instead of the overwhelming tsunami of attention. She was just Rosa again. Rosa who worked Section 3. Rosa who remembered orders and brought extra bread without being asked. Rosa who loved her job. But something had changed, and she felt it in small ways. The way customers met her eyes with respect instead of looking through her. The way her coworkers treated her as an equal rather than someone fragile. The way she walked through the dining room with her head high, no longer afraid of being seen. The viral video hadn't broken her. It had revealed something she'd always had but never fully claimed, her own strength. Rosa, Patricia Hayes called from her usual booth. Come here, I want to introduce you to my book club. We've been discussing workplace dignity, and I've been boring them all with stories about you. Rosa laughed a real laugh and went to meet them. Just another Friday night at Moretti's. Across town, Derek Chin sat in a coffee shop with his laptop, applying for jobs. Not CEO positions. Not even executive roles. Those doors had closed the moment Bytebolt Technologies became synonymous with cautionary tale. His LinkedIn was still active, but the connection requests had stopped. The networking calls had dried up. He was applying for senior manager positions now. Sometimes mid-level. Anywhere that would look past the Google results when they searched his name. His engagement had ended 3 weeks ago. Chelsea had been kind about it, but the writing was on the wall. She'd signed up for a future with a successful tech CEO, not a disgraced founder still figuring out how to rebuild from rubble. Some days, Derek wondered if he deserved any of this. Other days, he watched that video, still online, permanently, and knew exactly what he deserved. The lemonade, the laughter, the casual cruelty of two men who'd had everything and thought it made them invincible. They'd learned otherwise. Marcus had moved to Seattle. Fresh start, new city, far from the wreckage. They barely spoke now. Too much shared shame, too much reminder of who they'd been. Derek lived alone in a smaller apartment, worked on his job applications, and tried to figure out who he was when he wasn't defined by success. It was the hardest education he'd ever received. Meanwhile, in a penthouse office overlooking Manhattan, Alessandro Moretti reviewed quarterly reports with Vincent. The logistics network is performing better than projected, Vincent said, pulling up charts. Bytebolt's old clients transitioned smoothly. The delivery infrastructure we acquired has increased efficiency across 17 partner restaurants. Revenue is up 31% in the sector. Alessandro nodded, scanning the numbers. Bytebolt's technology, once used to humiliate and destroy, now strengthened his empire. The companies he'd acquired weren't just leverage anymore. They were assets, carefully integrated into his broader operations. Green Brothers Trucking, Data Flow Systems, Velocity Freight, OptiServe Cloud, all running smoothly under new management, generating steady profits, contributing to a network that now controlled over 60% of Manhattan's logistics infrastructure. What had started as revenge had become empire-building. And Chen?
Webb.
Alessandro asked. Chen's still in New York, job hunting. Webb moved to Seattle, working at a mid-sized tech company in middle management. Neither are any threat. Vincent closed his laptop. You broke them completely, Alessandro. They'll never recover their former positions. Alessandro was quiet for a moment, thinking about Rosa. How she'd stood in that restaurant, tears in her eyes but voice steady, accepting an apology that could never undo the harm. How she'd gone back to work the next day and the day after that, refusing to be chased away from something she loved. They broke themselves, he said finally. I just made sure they paid the full price. That evening, Alessandro picked Rosa up from work. She slid into the car, tired but content, smelling faintly of garlic and rosemary from the kitchen. Good shift, he asked. Good shift, she confirmed. The Petersons left a 30% tip and a note saying I'm the best server in Manhattan. They're not wrong. She laughed and leaned her head on his shoulder. You know what's strange? I thought I'd never feel normal again after everything. But tonight, for the first time in weeks, I just felt like
Me.
not viral waitress girl. Not a symbol. Just Rosa. You were always just Rosa, Alessandro said. The world just finally caught up. They drove through Manhattan as the city lights flickered to life. Two people who understood different kinds of power. Rosa's power was quiet, the power of dignity, of standing firm when everything said to break. Alessandro's power was louder, the power of resources and connections, and the ability to dismantle empires. Together, they were formidable. What had begun as a cruel joke, lemonade splashed for entertainment, laughter at another's pain, had ended with the complete destruction of everything Derek Chen and Marcus Webb had built. Not through violence. Not through anything illegal. Just through the patient, methodical application of power wielded by someone who understood that the strongest force isn't always the loudest. Sometimes power doesn't roar. Sometimes it squeezes. And sometimes, when cruelty meets consequence, the world learns an old lesson in a new way. Everyone has someone who would burn it all down for them. Rosa just happened to be married to a man who had the matches, the gasoline, and the patience to watch it burn slowly. Two men had learned the most expensive lesson of their lives. And Rosa Martinez Moretti went back to work, untouchable and unbroken, serving tables with the same grace that had started everything. Only now, everyone knew what grace backed by power looked like. The end.